In today's episode, I'm going to sit down with one of my students here at Warrior Trading. His name is Josh. He has earned his profitability badge and he is a Warrior Pro graduate. He's a day trader from New York. And what's interesting about his strategy is that he is trading with Thinkorswim. And unlike a lot of traders who are focusing on trading momentum early in the morning, he doesn't start trading until the 9:30 opening bell. Let's jump into this interview and learn more about his strategy. All right, so first question. I want to know all about the strategy that you're trading pretty much every day because you've got your 100K badge, you're making some really good progress. So I want to have people understand your strategy because I know from you talking to me that you're using Thinkorswim, commission-free broker, which is awesome. And your edge is focusing on tape reading and level 2, which is something near and dear to my heart because that's like how I look at it too. So do you think, let me just ask you this question. Do you think you could trade without using a chart?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm usually trading without using the chart. I'll glance over at it. I want to know where the apex points are at the chart. I want to know where pre-market highs. I want to know where high day is.
Okay.
I want to know where descending and ascending resistance are at, support, all that stuff. But
Okay.
99% of the time, I'm staring at the level 2. I'm looking how bids are reacting in certain areas, how sellers are being broken through in certain areas, and I'm just trading based off that. I'm taking a good amount of more trades than you. I'm taking a good amount of trades. I do take advantage of free commissions.
Yep.
Um, so I was able to collect a lot of data pretty quickly, and scalping the level 2, I found success pretty early, and I ran with it. So here we
See,
are
now
now.
that's something I love. When you're scalp trading, when you're taking like 50 or 100 trades a day, you can really get dialed in on what your accuracy is and what your profit loss ratio is. You compare that with someone who's swing trading and they're doing 3 trades a month. I mean, it could take years to accumulate hundreds of trades of data, but for you, you're getting that. I mean, what's the typical day for you? Like 100 trades or more?
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
It's different every day. Another part of my edge that is helps a lot toward my success is how picky I am with certain stocks. Like I won't trade a stock if it's choppy. I won't trade it if I don't like it. If I don't know I can't make money on it, I won't trade it. And
Okay.
that helps me a lot because I have very minimal drawdowns. I do take a lot of trades. Probably it depends. So if I'm sitting down and a stock's hot from open to close, I might
Yeah.
trade it 250 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so now give me some context of what for you is like an A quality stock. Like everyone knows our students my 5 pillars of stock selection, but how does your sort of, profile of A quality vary from that?
So unlike you, I like the cheap ones.
Okay.
I like sub $2 stocks because
Okay. All right, let's mark it out.
for me as somebody who's scalping the level 2, um I really care about spread. I won't trade unless it's a tight spread. And what you'll find is the cheaper you go, typically the
Yeah.
tighter the spread is.
Yep.
And so I like sub $2 stocks, and then I don't trade pre-market. I trade market open to market close. And what
Okay.
I do is at market open, I'm on TD or no, I'm on Thinkorswim with Charles
Yeah.
Schwab. So,
Right, because they merged. Yeah.
it's you, you can tell it's free commission at market open because your fills aren't great and the stock you're trading, if it has enough volume, it's inevitably going to be pretty choppy up and down. So I pretty much just watch it for the first couple minutes, knowing if I try to get in there, I'm probably not going to get a fill that I like anyways. So I'll
Okay.
watch it the first couple minutes. I want to see how bids are holding. I want to see what the size of the bids are popping up on the level 2. I want to see how cleanly the sellers are breaking on the level 2, how they're stacking on the level 2. Um, when you have a big seller on the level 2, how easy is it breaking in confluence
Mm.
with the tape?
Yeah.
So I'm watching the level 2, the tape's in my peripheral,
Okay.
and that's all I need. If the chart didn't exist, I'd be okay, but I like using the chart for context.
See, I asked someone else this question and they said, "Oh, I don't think I could trade without a chart." And I said, "Well, what about every time we trade IPOs? Because when you trade an IPO, you have no chart usually.
Yeah.
I mean, or you have one candle that's forming, but we're trading based on what we're seeing on the tape. The price drops, it holds support there because there's a big bid, then it bounces. You start to get this feel of the flow just by looking at the tape. But going back to your criteria, so we've got sub $2, we've got trading between 9:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. And then what about float? Do you have a preference on float?
You know, I prefer sub 20 million,
Okay.
but
Okay.
if I like the way something's moving, I'm going to trade it regardless. If I think I have a good read on the level two and I think I can make money on it, I'm going to trade it. I'll never trade a stock that's chopping around that I don't think I can. I'm using my statistics. I know
Yeah.
over 100 trades on a stock. If I think I have a good read on it, I will make money on it. So I'm not going to trade a stock that's chopping around. I like low float. You get cleaner moves, but sometimes the float will say one thing and it's really another thing. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
more importantly than the float, I want to just watch the level two for a couple minutes and see, do I think I can make money on this? And if the answer is yes, I'll sit there and scalp it.
How important is high relative volume or it being up, like more than 10% on the day?
Good question. Not that important for me, which I
Interesting.
know, learning from you,
Yeah.
relative value, you sing the praises of relative volume, right?
Yeah, I
That's
do.
one of your most important things is relative volume. For me, I'll look at a beat up penny stock that has volume coming in. If I think I could trade it because I like the tape and think the level two looks clean, I'll trade it and I'll sit there and I'll do all right on it over the course of however many trades. So, I like to
Hmm.
see high relative volume. Obviously, if there's high relative volume, I probably have there's a news catalyst. Like recently
Yep.
we had FOXO gapped up
Right.
and I did really well on FOXO. I thought it moved clean. It had high relative volume and it was a multi-day mover. So,
Yeah,
you
that
know,
was FOXO went up. It went up about 775% over the course of a couple days. I'll just throw the chart up here for people that are watching this video. But this was a lower priced one, and I did finally break the ice and take a couple trades on it. But for me, one of the drawbacks of trading with the broker that I use is that I pay commissions on, of course, every trade I take. Right. So if I buy 100,000 shares, I'm going to pay a commission of about $300 to buy it and another 300 to sell it. So if I do a million shares of volume, it's like $3,000 in commissions. $3,000. Whereas for you, you might easily trade a million shares in a day if you do 100 trades, right?
yep,
Each are a couple thousand shares. I mean, you could do millions of
easily.
shares a day. And I see a lot of people do volume like that. And you might say, Ross, you're crazy. Why would you use a commission, broker where you're paying commission? But we go back to kind of what you said about trading starting at 9:30. The broker that I use, the executions in the pre-market and after hours are really tight. They're fast, they're quick, and I get some slippage, but I remember when I did a small account challenge with Timmy, one of our traders who got his 100K badge. He used Thinkorswim and I used Lightspeed. And at the end of the challenge, although I did make some more money, he said one of the things was a couple of the trades that I took. He's like, "There's no way I could have taken that." But our metrics were different because I traded in the morning and then he traded kind of, later in the day. In fact, if you combine both, you'd have like a twice as profitable trader because we didn't really overlap a lot. We more were kind of like two different zones. So, all right. So then total relative volume, not as important, but total volume is important because you need high volume in order to create those tight spreads. So you
Yeah.
need a stock that has high volume. And I guess when it comes to lower price stocks, they don't usually trade with high volume unless there's something special going on. Either they're up a bit or they've got news or something.
Well, I'll see high volume on them, especially because they're so cheap that a lot of volume can go through really quickly. I mean, sometimes I'll be on a sub $2 stock and especially a sub dollar stock, and I'll see 5 million shares per 1 minute candle, and if I see that, I know I have the liquidity to get in and out scalping with a lot of size. So,
Yeah.
um, but it's all opportunity cost, right? You are gonna have way better executions than me from a trade to trade basis,
Hmm.
but I could get in and out a lot more than you, so I can readjust where
Yep.
I'm in and where I'm getting out. So,
For
you
free.
know, for free. So I couldn't trade my if free commission went away, I would have to change my playbook a little bit.
Mm.
I I could tone it down a lot, but I don't need to, and I'm just gonna keep doing what works for me right now. So
You know
yeah,
what? See, and that's kind of an interesting thing because I bet that's true for probably almost every trader at commission-free brokers, which is why they're going to petition so hard to make sure commission-free trading and payment for order flow don't go anywhere, because they would lose so much money. The volume in the market would get zapped out, liquidity would dry up. I mean, it really would be a fundamental change in the market at this point, now that we've had commission-free trading for nearly 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's too far down the road. I think you see like Robinhood coming out with their trading platform. They do free commission.
Hmm.
I'm interested. Charles Schwab is not perfect.
Yeah,
Don't get me started with their customer service. They're not perfect, like at all. So I think the emergence of Robinhood. I just think there's too much competition for Schwab or Robinhood to be like, all right, we're gonna do commissions now. I think that
yeah.
would kill the
You're talking
platform
about
for any active trader.
You're talking about Robinhood's desktop platform that they're coming out with?
They just introduced it at
Okay,
one of their shows recently. It looked, I'm gonna stay on Schwab. I like Schwab, but I like that other platforms like Robinhood, which is it's free commission, coming
totally.
out with other trading platforms because, Schwab's got problems, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to accept these problems because I know I'm getting free commission and I know I
Yep.
can trade the way I want to. But
Yep.
it's nice seeing, competition because, maybe that'll push Schwab to better their platform, seeing Robinhood doing this. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Okay. So now we've got a little bit of a sense of the type of stocks that you like to trade. Lower price stocks, regular trading hours, generally lower float. They've got to be moving. They've got to have some volume. What would you say is your go-to setup? Now, of course, you take 100 plus trades a day. Are you mostly buying dips? Are you doing breakouts? Or are you doing both?
Everything in between.
Wow. Yeah.
Really, like I said, if I have a good read on the stock,
Yep.
it, it's easy to get in the flow state on a stock when you're
Yeah.
trading it as often. Like look at your tapes from GameStop. When you're in and out, you don't care about the commissions because you know you're making good money anyways. It's so easy to
Totally.
get in a flow state on a stock that's just going not straight up, but moving the way you want to see it moving, really.
Yeah.
So,
Predictable.
technical setups, like I said, I don't need a chart, but what I've noticed recently is I love when a gapped up stock, cheap one, over the course of maybe an hour or two, forms a nice, very clear line of descending resistance. I like to
Okay.
trade the break to the upside of that, and I like to
Okay.
trade the retest. And if there's no retest, I'll just keep trading it on the way up. So
Awesome.
lately I've noticed I've been mapping out a lot of descending resistance on the chart, and I love to trade breaks of descending resistance.
Got
Keeping
it.
in mind the volume profile, just paying attention to all the things in between, but still focusing on the level two. But if there's very obvious descending resistance on a stock I know a lot of other people are watching, I'm going to be locked in to that level two when it's at that apex point, when it's tapping the descending resistance for the fifth, sixth time.
Yeah.
I know when it breaks,
Yeah.
there's a chance it might wick over, false
Yep.
break, but that's the thing about scalping. I'll be out if it's a false
Right.
break. I'm gonna get out really quickly. Trading at these apex points, you get a big advantage because you can get in, and if it doesn't
Yeah.
go your way immediately, you just get out.
Because at
And if
those apex points, you got the volume. Everyone's
exactly,
buying right there, so you can get in and out super liquid.
yeah, and I'm like we said, I'm on free commission, so
Yep.
I take a fair amount of trades. I'll trade the break. I'll trade the
Yep.
retest. If it doesn't retest, then that means it's probably still going up, and I'm just gonna still be getting in and out. So yeah, I like descending resistance. I like breaks of the whole dollar. Like if a penny stock breaking the whole dollar, I'm trying to be
Oh,
in
for
there with
sure.
as much 16,000, 24,000 shares, as much size as I can get in. And
Nice.
the size I could take on a stock is dependent not only on how liquid it is, but how laggy is Schwab that day?
Oh,
It comes
yeah.
down to that.
Yeah.
Sometimes on a certain ticker on Schwab, I can get in and out 16,000 shares, 24,000 shares, no problem. Sometimes I struggle getting in and out with 8,000 shares.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. So, all right. So now I drew on the whiteboard this test sort of descending resistance line, and then the break over it, and then it comes back down. So if you break, and sometimes you don't retest, you don't have the retest, you just go straight up. You just keep going, which is awesome. But if
yep.
you have the retest and you're buying the support off of that, what was previous resistance now becomes support for the curl back up. But how do we deal with the jackknife move? Because that's the one, even for me, like when I'm scalp trading, My average winners are kind of like, 8, 15 cents, whatever. And then I catch like a 40-cent jackknife. It's devastating. So now I will say maybe those happen more on higher price stocks,
They do.
but what would you say? What's your kind of approach for avoiding them?
Well, one of the reasons I don't like higher price stocks is because I find that I can make money on them. I'm profitable on $5 and over. My trader view stats support it, but
Okay.
it's just I can find myself, getting up however much on a more expensive stock, and then they'll just do those flash drops where it just sinks through all the bids, and it's just like there might not be any telltale sign on the tape, and it's just
Mm,
there's nothing you could do. You might get back most, if not all, your profit that you've
right.
accumulated while scalping it, and that
Right.
doesn't really happen on the sub $2 stocks. I notice. I mean, it does, right? But it it might drop 5 to 10 cents as opposed to 30 cents, and
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
fine. And I just trust in my level 2
Hmm.
that I could get out prior to that happening. You know, if I'm buying, so say descending resistance breaks and then it's retesting, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm paying attention to the stack of bids in that area. And
Yeah.
if the bids are holding strong, I'm in there. If the bids look weak, I'm not going to buy it. And if the bids are just getting broken through, I'm not going to buy it either
Mm.
because the stock's got to hold that area for me to be interested.
This is making me think about how when you have lower price stocks, because so many traders like yourself are buying 15,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 shares, the book gets really filled with buyers. So you've got lots of buyers all the way down, ready to buy dips. You've got less sellers going up too. So in a way, you've got more liquidity, but which is good. But on the other hand, all of those buyers filling in, it sort of in a way prevents it from having like those really parabolic, like 4-point squeezes to the upside, but it also prevents you from having those flash crashes because you've got people ready to absorb any dip. So it's like
Yeah.
it almost kind of compresses the range almost to the point where some of them become more of what I would call a grinder, where it's moving up a little, maybe 10 cents, and then it kind of dips down, then it moves up, which for me, I churn commissions.
Hmm.
I'm getting in, I'm getting out, getting in, getting out. 3, 4 cents. It doesn't cover the cost of business with commissions. But for you, that's a profitable trade.
Yeah. And you reference 10 cents a lot because for you, 10
Yeah.
cents is like that's that's what you're looking for. You want to get in a
Yeah.
trade and you'd like to get 10 cents minimum. I don't I'm never getting 10 cents ever. I'm never holding for the entirety of the move, and I don't need to because I can get back in. If there's strong buying, I'll get
Yeah.
in. If a big seller's breaking, I'll get in, and
Yeah.
I'll sell for the pop knowing I can get back in. I I
Yeah.
trade differently. I really honest. The only other person I know that trades like me is my best friend that taught my strategy to. I don't know anybody else. I know people that trade similarly to me,
Yeah.
but nobody exactly like me. Not because I'm some savant or something. It's just I found some very niche type of trading that works for me,
Yeah.
and I ran with it, and I've built a strategy that I you're right. Sometimes I'll miss the big squeezes, but I've made a you know mm, I've made more money than I ever thought I was going to be making. I was a semester away from being a English teacher, and I'm making more money than I ever thought I would make. And
Yeah.
the most impressive thing, in my opinion, about it is I don't have drawdowns. I have a 100K badge. My biggest
Yep.
drawdown ever is $500.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just that's a mixture of I do play it safe when I trade, but I have to. This is my only source of income. I
Yeah.
started doing this full time in 2023. I have 3 dogs. Dog food's expensive.
It
One of
is.
them's a
Yeah.
purebred Great Dane. She eats a lot.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I just s- you know, learning from you, I learned very quickly. I wanted to treat this as a business. When I was in school, I was going to be a teacher, but I was doing that because it was the the major I thought I'd hate the least, not because I was, you
Hmm.
know, super into it. So when I found there was a way I could monetize my interest in the stock market,
Yeah.
I treated it like a business very strictly. Now, I get frustrated. I get annoyed at stocks sometimes, but I'm so disciplined with my trading. I try to do it as if I'm a robot and it's just like automated.
Good for you.
Sometimes I can't, but genuinely I really don't have big drawdowns. And I think that's just because my style of trading. Um that's just what works for me. I'm not, I don't make as much as Ross, right? I probably will never have a $400,000 month, but
You never know. You never
yeah,
know.
well, if if I get a big enough cushion
Mhm, mhm,
eventually,
mhm.
I can afford to not make the money I'm making right now on a month to month basis and really try to expand my playbook.
Yeah,
But right now, really, I've got something good and I'm just running with it. And I'm
I
just gonna
love
keep
that.
doing it until I can't do it anymore and or until I have however much in the bank and I can afford to take a couple months, disregard my current strategy and open up the playbook a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe start trading the $10 ones where I can catch the 50-cent dollar moves. But
sure. Yeah,
it's hard
yeah.
because, there's nobody that could trade every stock,
You're
perfectly. You
right.
got to find
Yeah,
what you can trade well and you have to run with it.
yeah.
I don't trade the same stocks as you. We very rarely. It was incredible to watch you trade FOXO because it's like Ross does not touch these stocks usually. So I was like,
Mhm.
that made me happy, but it just is what it is. Do I have FOMO sometimes seeing you do incredibly well and other people on the other stocks? I used to, but
Yeah,
not really anymore. It
yeah.
just is what it is. I really think I understand my strategy inside and out, and you know, I just uh I just want to keep doing what I'm doing and just
I love
focus
that.
on that. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
all I want to
that's
do is
awesome.
just keep running with this.
I when I first started, when I would see a stock, make one of these like 400, 500% moves, like not the cheap ones, but a stock that would go from like 4 to 6 to 8 to 12 to 15 to $25 in one day, I would never make money on them because they would be moving so fast. I'd be like, I don't know where to break the ice. I don't know where to
Mhm.
get in.
Yeah.
And then maybe, I'd finally break the ice at the tippy top and it would drop down and I'd be the guy that's red on the stock up 400%.
Mhm.
And so I kind of just say, you know what? Don't be greedy. That's not for you right now. You just focus on hitting your 10, 15-cent base hits. Buy a stock at $3, sell it at 320. 1,000 shares, your $200 daily goal is done. And so for me, of course, I was learning at a time when I was paying commissions. This was more than a decade ago, but I was paying my commission. So if I took 10 trades in a day, I might have $100 in commissions. My daily goal was 200. I didn't want to
Yeah.
pay half of that to my broker. So for me at that time, there wasn't as much liquidity in the market. You had to be like really disciplined about get your one trade, get in, you have profit, you take it off the table. And I got to a point where I got so good at that as I saw these stocks making big moves, I really set my mind to figuring out how I could add some profit trading them. Knowing that they maybe only happened a few times a year, but I kept seeing other people do really well on it. But, to your point, you can't be good at everything. And, there's a lot of stocks in the market that I won't trade, that other people might trade. And I say, you know what? I know my wheelhouse. I know what I do well on. And if I'm missing out on other stuff, I mean, at least I've got my thing. Because at the end of the day, especially as a beginner, it just takes one strategy to keep your head above water and to be making a little money. And once you're making a little money, well, then it really feels like smooth sailing. So I feel like you're doing it the right way. I mean, you found your niche, but I guess what kind of, well, maybe let's take a step back. Can you tell me, um, how did you get into trading? I mean, where did this come from for you?
Well, when I was 18 in 2018, I opened an E-Trade account. A family friend of my family, he was retired from the stock market. He didn't have a ton of money. He had enough where he could live off his E-Trade account
Okay.
via the dividends that paid him. And I was just so interested in his portfolio, how he managed it. He was in his mid 40s and he had not he never has to work again. Um,
Yeah,
so
that's
I
pretty
was I was
awesome.
incredibly interested. So I opened an E-Trade account. He helped me get my E-Trade account set up, and then I was I went to community college and I commuted. So all the money I made working, I put in
Yep.
my E-Trade account. And
Yep.
then COVID happened.
Right.
And when COVID happened, I had just graduated my with my associate's degree, and then I transferred to a 4-year because I wanted to be a teacher. I was going to be a high school English teacher. And COVID happened, and I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do because I can't work and I need to get a house off campus. I had scholarship, so I didn't have to worry much outside of it. I went to a SUNY school, so it
Okay.
was
You're in
cheap.
New York. Yeah.
I had a scholarship. I didn't have to worry about much outside of books and fees and whatnot, but I had to pay
Yep.
for my housing.
Yep.
And COVID was going on, so I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna pay for it, but I noticed my friends were getting unemployment, and I was like, well, I just lost my job to COVID. We closed. It was like March 13th or whatever the big day was.
Yeah.
And so then, um, so I started, you know, I was on unemployment, and then all my friends, like, they were paying us way too much, like way too much. Unemployment was just. I saw my friends just posting about how like they were getting 750 a week. I don't remember what I was getting, but I was putting everything in my E-Trade, like everything, every dollar I got,
Hmm.
whether it was from working or from COVID stimulus, every cent I just put into my E-Trade. So I was just I thought I was going to be a high school English teacher. I was in the investment calculators saying, okay, I need to put this amount away per month. I need to get an 11% return. I could retire when I'm 50. And
Yeah.
that's I thought trading was a complete scam. I had a
Mm.
buddy from high school who would always talk about options. I'm like, dude, these guys are frauds. Like these guys, I don't
Yeah.
think anybody can trade the stock market and have success. I thought that I was long term biased investor, and
Yep.
then I was living in my house with my two best friends at our SUNY school, and then one day I saw a person I went to high school with trading live on YouTube, um, under stocks to trade, I think,
Okay. Okay.
and I had thought. And, who knows if they're legit or not, but from my point of view at that time, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I know this person, and
Yeah.
they're trading, and I know this is an honest person," and I was like,
Yeah.
"If they can do it, I feel like I can do it."
Yeah.
It might take me a long time, but I didn't care.
Sure.
If I could find a way to monetize my love for the stock market, I would have did anything to do that. So, you know, that day or maybe the next day, I found your YouTube channel. I watched a couple videos and then
Yep.
I told my girlfriend, I was like, this is what I want to do. I
Yeah.
don't know how long it's going to take me to figure this out, but I know for certain this is what I want to do. And if I have to trade in a simulator till I'm 25, I'm going to do it because I really feel like I need to do this. Like this is the only thing I've ever found that I think I could look forward to every single day. And
That's
she was
awesome.
completely supportive. And I hope this is a safe space, Ross, because I'm
It
going to tell you
is.
something stupid.
Okay.
I dropped out of school. I was so convinced I could do it.
Yeah.
I was so unhappy with school. I had one
Yeah.
semester left to get certified as an English teacher, and I
Okay.
dropped out. And in hindsight,
Mhm.
very silly. My perspective was I can go back, but I want to be in the sim every day. I want to
Mm.
be. I want to do this. I really
Yeah.
want to do this. So I dropped out, knowing I could go back, do a semester, and be certified to be an English teacher.
Yep.
And so I dropped out, and then the
Mm.
rest is history. In 2023, this was 2022.
Mhm.
I spent time in the sim because of the money I had saved up. I started over PDT, just over, which I think played a factor in my current risk management.
Right, you were just over, so you had basically, like, less than $1,000 a cushion,
Yeah, yeah,
and you were over PDT, which meant you could trade as much as you want
mhm,
with a commission-free broker.
mhm.
You're not limited.
So I started with very small share size,
Yep.
very small share size after the sim. I don't like the sim. Well, you offered the Sterling sim or
Yep,
something like
that's
that.
right. Yep.
That was nice, but I knew I was going to trade with TD, so
Yeah.
I wanted to use the TD sim. Excuse me. And I didn't like it. It was laggy.
Yeah.
The market data wasn't exact. It wasn't
Mm.
precise. So I was like, okay, I'm over PDT. I know I can have the um I
The,
know I can have the discipline to only
yeah.
trade with very small size. I can't afford a big loss. That was all my money. I had enough to
Yeah.
be over PDT. That was all my money though.
Yep.
So once I found success, it was like, okay. It
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
from like the equity curve started slow. It was like the first month was 1,000, and then 2,000, and then 3,000, and then it was 4,000, and then once I had my first 10K month, it was
Wow.
it was never under that again. And now it
Wow.
is what it is. It's more money than I ever thought I'd make, more money than I would have ever made teaching. And was I delusional for dropping out of school pursuing this? Yeah, but you have to be a little bit delusional to pursue this in some way.
Well,
You got
you
to be a
gotta be
little
an
bit
eternal
delusional.
you gotta be an internal optimist because you're trying to do something that is very difficult. And I'll take this opportunity to remind everyone listening that, of course, you already hear me say my results aren't typical, but I'll say the same thing for you. You've done something really exceptional. And when it comes to dropping out of school, it's not something I would ever recommend someone do. Um, I I often have this dream that I'm back in school. In fact, funny enough, just last night I had a dream that I was back working in the firm in New York City. I have that dream too sometimes. And I'm at work when the market is opening, and I'm thinking to myself, why did I sign myself up to go back to school? Why did I sign myself up to come into this job? I'm missing the open. I'm going to make so much more money trading. Like, this doesn't make sense. And I think for me, uh, it sometimes being a trader feels like the non traditional path, and maybe coming from a family that respected academics and wanted me to go to college and kind of get a regular job. Maybe I carry some guilt that I'm not going in as a school teacher. I'm third gen. Technically I am a teacher, third generation, but not in the sense, not in the way my grandmother was. She was a teacher in the elementary school. She
Mhm.
went to work every day, and sometimes I feel maybe I feel a little bit I feel so privileged at the opportunity to make as much as we make, but I also it's a challenge because it's not what my family expected me to do. And there's a little bit of like almost like survivor's guilt that you got yourself out of the 9 to 5, but like you see a lot of people out there are still doing it.
Yeah. I'm curious. You know,
Mm,
I don't know if you've talked about this, but how were those conversations? Because for you and your family and your friends, because from my perspective, it's like when I got into trading, I was like, man, it's gonna be badass if I figure this out. And I could tell all my
yeah,
friends I'm a day trader. My family will think I'm, so cool. And then
yeah.
once you start making real money and you're
Hmm.
around the space, you realize either they don't care at all
Hmm.
or much because they don't
Hmm.
understand it, or
Hmm.
they don't believe you.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's like I always thought I was gonna figure it out. I was gonna do it, and then I was gonna, you know, post cool clips on my social media. I have no interest in doing that. I feel
Hmm.
like when you're around the social media trading space,
Yeah.
you know, contrary to popular belief, it's a very difficult thing to do. You'll go on Instagram and you'll see some kid in high school saying they made 300 grand from study hall, and it's just like, oh, I
Mm.
don't even want to be grouped in with these people.
Yeah.
I'll just do my thing at my desk. And
Mm.
I because like I said, when I was a long-term investor,
Yeah.
I thought day trading was BS. I didn't think
Mm.
it was legit. I thought if you
Mhm.
if you said you were a day trader, you were a liar. And so
Mm.
I
Yeah.
I could see why people would think that about me. So
Mm.
I I think a lot of my family doesn't even know what I do.
Yeah.
They might think I tell them that I did trade stocks. Now, what
Yeah.
that means to them, I don't know. Maybe they think I'm
Yeah.
trading options on Robinhood and
Yeah.
doing something like that. But yeah, for you, as somebody who did it long time ago, started your journey, how was that for you? Because it's
Mm.
something you get into. It's like, oh, it's gonna be cool. I know you had your blog, so you did have
Well,
things to do in that sense. But like in regards to your family and whatnot, what
yeah.
did they believe you? How was that?
So so I didn't tell anyone for a long time.
Yeah.
I had this job in New York. I was living in New York City, and I had this job in New York, the one I dreamed about last night again. so I was working down there in on West 27th Street. It was 27th Street, between 5th and 6th Ave. And it was an architecture design studio. And I worked down there. And then when the Great Recession kind of started setting in, I moved back up to Vermont. And when I moved back up to Vermont, initially I told the guy I was working for, I was like, I'm moving back up to Vermont. So that's it. And he said, well, wait. You know, if you want to work from there, you know, you could, we had some like remote access log me in, where I could log into my work computer, and he's like, you could still help me, and that would be great, and I'll just, you know, do hourly and write down your hours. And so I was like, okay. So I did that for a while, but eventually that ended. But I didn't tell my family that it ended, so I kind of just didn't talk about it, and I was doing the trading stuff. And I didn't tell them because I, you know, I knew that there would be some skepticism. And wait a second, so you're kind of like unemployed, you don't have a job? And I just didn't want to hear it. You know, I didn't want to, because I was focusing on this trading thing. And I had some friends, but, you know, the circle of people that I knew weren't people that thought much of the stock market. You know,
Yeah.
they were, I didn't want to, you know, it's like, what are you doing? Yeah, Ross, stock market. You know, it's like, that's like way fancy. Like, what are you trying to do? Are you better than us? You're trying to do the stock market? How much money do you have? You
You're gonna
know?
go work on Wall Street.
Well, yeah, go work on Wall Street. So I didn't say much to them either. I mean, you know, I would talk a little bit, but I pretty quickly realized that this wasn't something I should really talk about.
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't. And, you know, there were a couple of people that I did talk about it with. My friend Ben, who is the person who kind of got me into trading, I talked about it with him. And then, you know, I would just go online, and I just totally immerse myself in like watching videos, and, you know, and reading on threads and message boards or whatever, or joining chat rooms. They used to have a lot of free chat rooms, and most of them are garbage, but, you know, just trying to like learn as much as I could. And so that kind of became my, like, I guess, online community. And then I created the blog in Warrior Trading, so I could kind of curate a community of people that were kind of looking at it and thinking about the same as me. Because I really didn't have that connection in my day-to-day life. But I remember when I finally kind of did start to tell my family that I was trading, I told them a little too soon, because although I was having some success, I would also have days where I was questioning everything. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, my equity curve to the first 100K is so totally different from yours. Mine was like, made 30K, gave it all back, and
Yeah.
then slowly made 30K again, gave it all back. Slowly, you know, it was like, I mean, it was like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. And meanwhile, 2 years go by, and I'm paying all my cost of living on credit cards. So I didn't want to tell my family I'd accumulated $36,000 in credit card debt. I mean, and a lot of this, you know, the money that I got to start trading was money from my father, which I didn't want to tell them I was putting that in the market either, because of the shame that I already had, that I had lost a lot of it. So my start was very different from yours. And one of the things that I'll often say is that I actually think starting with very little is a huge advantage. I think a lot of people think you need a lot of money to start trading. And I think actually it's one of the worst things you can have is a lot of money. Because when you have a lot of money, you can be sloppy, complacent, you can hold too long. You can say, you know, I saw someone say this today, Ross, you were down in that position. Why didn't you just hold and see if it'll come back tomorrow? People with money say that. People who are broke cut their losses. They just,
Yeah.
it sucks, but you just cut your loss, you get out. So, you know, I think that there's a hidden, you know, kind of benefit to starting where you're kind of strapped, because it's, you either survive on discipline or you don't survive. So you build a solid foundation, and you got exactly that. Now, let me ask you a question. What are your average winners and average losers in terms of dollar size and your accuracy? Because I'm kind of picturing lower size average winners and losers, and accuracy maybe like 55 or something percent.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah. So my accuracy is probably 53%, 52, 53%, and then, you know, 46% on the other side, and then there's the break even trades in between. And
Okay.
then, yeah, my average winners are sub $50, average about twice as large as my average loser. So if you wanted an exact number, I could pull my trader view up, but
No,
it's
it's okay.
about,
That's
my
good.
average winners are about twice as large as my average losers, and I teeter
Nice.
around the 50% range. So, I'm playing the statistics. That's really all I'm doing. I'm playing the statistics for my edge, and um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's very
cut.
interesting.
I don't take big losses. Um, my biggest single loss ever was not a scalp. It was a this is the only time I've ever done this. Foot Locker was reporting earnings. I
Okay.
was like, every time I go to the mall, there is nobody in there. It's like a going out of business sale, at least in all the stores around New York. I
Mhm.
was like, I would be so shocked if they did well on earnings. So
Yeah.
I shorted it
Yeah.
with however many shares. I woke up the next morning and I was down like 400 or 500 bucks. Whatever.
Yeah. So
That
that
day
was your biggest loss you ever had?
Yep, that was the biggest loss. That's the biggest single trade loss I've ever had. I take
Wow.
paper cuts, like, right. It's not uncommon for me to have a big day, like, um the day after the election. I
Yeah.
made 7.5 thousand,
Yeah.
set,
7,500.
7 point something, 7.2 to 7.5. I don't know the
Okay.
exact number off the top of
Okay.
my head, but within that, I'm taking I'm taking couple $100 losses here and there.
Mhm.
But, that just is what it is. I mean, I'm exposing myself a lot to the market. I'm going to be more susceptible to bids falling out from under me and taking those losses. But I'm playing the statistics. I know if the stock is moving well enough, I think I have a good read on it. I'm going to
Hmm.
do well on it. So, yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's
I
just so different.
it is different. I was just pulling up my metrics and looking at my profit loss ratio. So just for the last 30 days, my average winners are about twice my average losers in size, but my accuracy is about 66%, and that's been pretty stable over the last well, I think I've got 9 years or so of trading data on
Forever.
this.
I remember you saying that. You've always been around like 65 to
Yeah.
69%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, for me, I mean, the first penny of every trade goes to fees and commissions. So if I make 10 cents a share, then 1 cent goes to fees and commissions, roughly,
Mhm.
approximately. So that's 10%. So it's like I just know that I need a little bit of a bigger margin on every trade in terms of what I could win in order to even make it worthwhile. Your strategy, I mean, I think we know that if you traded the way you trade right now with the broker I use, you would be losing money each day because of the fees and commissions. You'd be gross profitable, but you'd be net negative because of the ECN fees and the trades, the commissions. So you're working within kind of like this. It's almost like you've got this little edge, this little pocket carved out where just because of the dynamics of the way the market works right now, you could just sit there all day long, and as long as you could take 100 trades a day, and most days you'll be able to, you should be able to finish most days green, most days green. I mean, as long as you're maintaining your metrics. You've got such a quantity of trades.
Yeah. Yeah. I average like 1 or 2 red days a month. And
Okay.
even still at this point in my journey, it's crazy to look at my trader view and, you know, I don't know. I don't know how to attribute this,
Hmm.
consistency. I'm not smarter than anybody. I think I just took the right approach from the start.
Mm-hmm.
And like we talked about, when you can't afford a big loss,
Yeah.
you tend to avoid them. If you got a ton of money and you want to let your position run because you're not happy it went against you immediately, then maybe you'll do that, but you're gonna get burned. And
Yeah.
you've spoke on both sides of the spectrum. Like you've talked with people that have made well over $1 million,
Yep.
and if you have your edge, having capital is obviously in your favor. But if you don't have your edge, I would say having capital is going to work against you most of the
That's
time. Like,
true.
sure, you can afford to lose the money,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't want to take a loss and just think, I could have $500. That's no big deal. It's a big
Right.
deal to me. I don't,
Yeah.
and I don't even care about the losses. If I have a red day, what was I doing wrong? Because I was doing something wrong. Was I trading a choppy stock that I shouldn't have been trading? Was I churning shares on the backside? I was doing something wrong. So, um, yeah, I just I can't afford to take big losses. I keep my account at 30,000.
Mm. That's really
Everything
good for
else,
discipline. Yeah.
yeah, everything else, anything over 30,000, um, I just transfer into my E-Trade and I invest it. That's it.
Good
That's
for
all I
you.
care about.
Yep.
I don't want to be a guru. I don't want a nice car. I'm not a car guy. I know you have your tire kickers.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
very humble about your cars. I won't say too
Thank you.
much, but you know, I'm not a car guy. I don't care. I have a 2010 Honda CR-V with 160K miles on it.
It's a
I'll
good car.
drive it till I'll drive it till it dies.
Yeah.
Every my girlfriend understands the mission. Like, she's the only. It's me, her, and our three dogs. And
It's awesome.
I she understands. Like, I have a goal. I'm making more money than I thought I'd ever be making. I want to invest all of it. I want to invest all of it. And
Good
because,
for you.
I don't know where I'll be in, maybe I won't have, who knows what could happen? Anything
Sure.
could happen. I
Sure.
don't know what I'll be doing in 15 years. So, yes, I'm making great money,
Yeah.
but I need to have something to show for it.
You
I
do.
I can't
More
I
than
can't
just a fancy car
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
had
I
for a couple years and then you have to give it
don't
back.
care about that. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be cool to me after a week. Sometimes I go in my E-Trade and I'm like, wow, this is neat because I never thought I would have this kind of money
Yeah.
to my name. Never, never in a
Yeah.
million years. I thought I was going to be a teacher. I thought I'd invest couple $100 a month, but
Yeah.
I'm just dumping profits into the stock market and, safely. I like the 80% of my portfolio is the S&P 500. So
Yep.
just VOO. And then,
Yeah.
I like Tesla. I have a good average. There's some other, growth stuff I like, but
Good for you.
this is just,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
That's awesome.
yeah, I love it. I love it. I love living a minimalist lifestyle. We'll get a house soon. I'm not looking for I want a cheap house, maybe
Yeah.
something I could fix up. I've
Yeah.
saved a good chunk of capital if I have to put work in the house, but yeah, I want to live below my means while I'm
That's the
making this
way.
type of money, and I want to invest as much as I can because 10 years from now, if something happens, if small caps dry up, anything, the
Sure.
data shows it probably won't, but anything could happen. And if that
Yeah.
were to happen, I just have to have something to show for it. I have to. So, yeah, I'm trying to take as disciplined as an approach with the money as possible. And I just hope that,
You're so smart. I mean, that is the way. I agree 100%. You've got to strike while the iron's hot. And right now there's a window open. And look, it's life. You don't know how long it'll be open for. I mean, God forbid your hands could get crushed in some crazy accident. That'd be pretty
I
unusual.
just
But
broke a finger in a
oh, really?
four-wheeler accident.
See,
So
just like
ironic.
that.
So
That's how quick it can happen. So you
this
got to
finger
get
is
you
on
better
my
get
flattened button.
insurance, hand insurance, be a hand model. But really, it's like I feel that way with trading too. That look, the window's open right now, and hey, I hope it's open for another, for my entire career and my retirement. It's been open for a long time. I don't see why it would close. But you know what? I don't want to take for granted that things are going really well right now, and rather than just spend all that money, you should put it into savings. So, the thing that I've done, which hopefully you'll do with some of this profit, is make a contribution to a Roth IRA,
Yep.
start boosting it up, because the fact that right now all the work you're doing technically in a taxable account, you're paying income tax on.
Mhm.
All this time you're spending trading, you could be trading in a tax-free retirement account, and all of that profit is tax sheltered. Roth IRA, no income tax. You
Yep.
tax the seed, not the growth. I mean, you know this, but like that's so for me, that's what I'm doing. I'm growing my retirement account as much as I can. I'm putting it away, and a penny saved is a penny earned. It's going to pay dividends, literally, but over the course of your working life.
That's the goal.
That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the goal. Once I have a big enough cushion and I can afford to, I would
Yeah,
love to trade in a Roth IRA. There's so
yeah,
many benefits that come with it. I know you've talked about trading in a Roth IRA. You, this whole trading thing, you figured it out. You've mastered it. I never hear you talk about long-term stuff.
mm,
You have to be an investor, right? I mean,
yeah.
do you just put your money away in the S&P and set it and forget it, or do you read fundamentals on companies and try to choose stocks to invest in? If you
I
want to
don't.
share. I'm just
No,
curious,
I
like
yeah.
what you do.
So here's the thing. Um, I find it really hard to combine day trading with investing long term. So early in my career, I tried to do that. I had two accounts. One was day trading, one was long term. And every day I would log into both. And I'd see the long term account, for instance, on a Netflix or something I was holding, was down a couple $1,000. And I'd be like, that's more than I would have made in an entire day of day trading. And then I would get bent out of shape about it. I would start thinking, oh, maybe I should actually buy some more shares of this. And then next thing I know, I'm day trading in my long term account. And for me, I just learned that, you know what? Know your lane, know your niche, know what you're good at. I'm really good at day trading. I really am. I probably am better at long-term investing than maybe your average person who doesn't know anything about the market. But there are people out there who are experts at it. And so what I ended up doing was hiring an investment advisor. And that was something that I thought to myself, like, I would rather pay someone who really knows about the long-term stuff. And I know you could just put your money in ETFs and this and that, and the 80% ETFs and 20% bonds, and some of my accounts are set up that way, but some of them are a little bit more complex because for me, and for you too, my income is so dependent on the market. And I kind of felt that I'd rather invest my long-term Roth IRA in less market correlated asset classes, because when things are slow, with trading, I don't want everything going down at the same time. So I was like, maybe I should diversify with real estate, which you can invest in a Roth IRA, or with some of these other funds that I'm in, where they're more, it's not fixed income exactly, but some of them have mortgages, and they've got different types of lending. And so they're just generating less exciting, but consistent, relatively predictable income. So each month when I log in, I don't log in every day, but each month when I log in or see my statement, my Roth IRA, it's like, okay, there's another $50,000. There's another $70,000. It's chipping away. Now, I'm fortunate that I was able to grow my account by millions of dollars during the pandemic. I mean, the window was open. I showed up every day and I crushed it. And now, just in the last few months, the window's opened again, and all this profit is going into that Roth IRA. So, but anyways, so that's kind of my approach. I focus on staying in my lane, doing what I know I do really well with, which is actively trading. And then the long-term stuff, I have taken the approach that I'd rather have someone who's really an expert at that give me the guidance, because my concern was that, I'll turn $583 into 10 million. I'll then invest $10 million in Tesla, and in 1 year it'll drop 50%. And I'm down $5 million. And that's like it. Look, if I lost that amount of money as a result of being invested with an investment advisor, I think I'd be like, well, you know what? I was following it's life, and I could handle that more. But if it was from my own losses, I don't know that I could emotionally handle investing that amount of money. So, that's my approach. But again, I'm at a little bit of a different place, just thanks to me having as much experience as I had coming into the hottest market we'd had in 20 years.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you're so far down. We're speaking from two different perspectives. You're
I
you're
know.
so far down your equity curve. This is so fascinating to me. I don't talk to a lot of people that are interested in trading outside of, maybe the chat room or my friend.
Sure.
So this is such a unique conversation. I'm interested because one thing that I struggle with a lot, especially being on my second year full time, started in 2023. 2024 is almost over. We're going into 2025. One thing I still struggle with is, you know, I'm still always in a competition with myself. It's hard. It's very difficult for me to stop and smell the roses, Like I
Mm,
said, I'm making more money than I would have ever expected to be making, but it's still like, you know, I have a record month, and now
yeah.
it's like it's cool for a minute, but now it's like that's my baseline. And now it's like it's so difficult to appreciate the month. Don't get me wrong. I get to wake up and trade with my best friend every single day. Like I'm living the life, right? It's There's nothing else I would want to be doing. I'm grateful for it, and I'm always grateful for it, but I struggle. I'll have a day where maybe I'm up $1,000, and then I'll give 400 off the top, and I made 600 net on the day, but I'm pissed. I gave
Mm,
400 off the top, and just a year ago, if I made $600 in a day, I'd be over the moon about it. So I guess my question to you, from because you have an entirely different perspective, is this something you struggled with? And if so, at what point in your equity curve or at what point in your journey were you able to be like, okay, I don't need to try to beat my last month. I've made enough. I have enough cushion. I don't need to constantly compete with myself. I can appreciate the work I've done. I just wonder
Mm,
you're you're probably the only millionaire trader I'll talk to for the next however long. So
mm,
I just wonder, somebody like you who's made that much money, at what point was it did it not become a constant competition with your last best
mhm,
month and
mhm.
whatnot, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Um, well, so I think that the answer I'm going to give you isn't might maybe what you want to hear, but for me, I have I do have that competition within myself, even still. And I think one of the things that's motivated me and pushed me so hard. Some people are kind of driven, by the carrot, and others are driven by the stick, so to speak. And I think for me, the motivator for working as hard as I have and getting as good as I have gotten in with trading, a lot of that has come from fear. And it's been a fear of becoming destitute and completely broke. And that is generational trauma that I inherited from my mother, who got it from her grandfather, who raised her, and who lost everything in the Great Depression. And so, even as much money as I have today, that fear is still here. And I still worry, have I put away enough? Have I saved enough? And when I have a red day, I still get disappointed in myself. And when I have a year like last year, which was the worst year I'd had in 5 years of trading, I I started thinking, I've been showing up every single day, uh, and I'm making less. I'm making less. Am I, at what point does Tom Brady accept, like, just retire already? Like, you're not who you used to be, and you're never going to be that person again. And I started to worry that with trading, that maybe I peaked early. Look, it wasn't my fault that the pandemic happened when it happened, and I had such an amazing year. I'm grateful for it. But also, it's like, Justin Bieber is someone that hits their peak when they're so young. Not that I want to compare myself to, I mean, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but you get the idea. How do you deal with peaking that early? and and with trading, you could have a record breaker month. Mine was June of 2020. And I don't know that I'll break that record. I don't
Yeah.
know that I'll ever break it again. And I've got to be okay with that. So here's the thing that has helped me. Living within my means has helped a lot, and you're doing that, and that's really important, because I've seen people who start to have some success, they start to make some money, and then they go out and they start spending that money, and then next thing you know, they get a tax bill, and they're like, whoa, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I've got to make this amount of money by the end of the year just to pay the IRS, and now I've got to pay the maintenance on this fancy car, I've got the taxes and insurance on this fancy apartment or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, they're feeling this pressure. And when you're feeling that pressure, that gets in your head, and that will totally screw up your trading. So like, for me, living within my means and knowing that, even if I have these concerns or whatever, that at the end of the day, I'm making enough money to cover my cost of living, and I've saved enough money to cover my cost of living, and I don't have to feel that pressure. I think that's a really important thing. So, like, one of the I remember when I became a millionaire, I had bought this house, which, at the time I was like, I could pay all cash for this house. I won't take a mortgage out. I'm going to pay cash, and I'm going to own the house. I'm going to fix it up, kind of like what you're talking about doing.
Mhm.
And I lived there for a while, and then I got to this point where I was like, you know, I'm making my trading picked up pretty quickly. I mean, I was making in sometimes a couple months more than that entire house was worth. And I was like, this is kind of, maybe I'm living a little too far below my means. Like,
Yeah.
maybe I should kind of like move into somewhere like a little safer, a little nicer. And so then I did, and I kind of made a move, and I sold that house. But Um, but I think it was the right move at that time, because if I had done the opposite, which was buy something really fancy, and then trading had slowed down, I would have started to feel stress and nervous, and I would have been like, "Uh-oh." All of a sudden, that dream that you're talking about of being able to retire early, like the numbers don't work if you're spending 20,000 a year or whatever on, your mortgage and your property tax and this and that.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with being a trader that a lot of people don't expect, but it's true with being any small business owner, is that there are ups and there are downs. There are times where it's really hot and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And then there's times where it's really slow. And when it's slow, you start to feel a little bit of panic, because you're like, what if things don't pick up? That's what your brain starts telling you. What if things don't pick up? And now I've gone through so many ebbs and flows that I could tell you it does, it will slow down and it will pick back up, short of some, massive change in, the financial market. So you don't have to worry too much about that, I don't think. But yeah, I think that you're gonna it's also the personality type of someone who ends up becoming really successful, is that you're not satisfied, you're holding yourself to a higher standard, and that's going to push you to work hard. So it's like a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wish I was like more blissfully ignorant and could just be like, I don't care. But I wouldn't be where I am today if that was the case. And so, you got to kind of love all those aspects of yourself, because you wouldn't be where you were and are if you weren't, that competitive and that disciplined and everything else.
Yeah. Just so difficult sometimes, right? It's just
Yeah.
trading's an emotional thing.
Yep.
You can make more money in a day
I
than
know.
your daily goal ever was, and you could still be unhappy about it. So
I know.
yeah, it's interesting. Um,
I know.
the
I
whole
mean,
psychological aspect of trading is so fascinating. I mean, it's so different person to person, and it's just something you have to not master, but you have to figure it out if you want to have sustained success over a long period of time. And I think
yeah.
we're both very similar in the sense that um, one of the things we both have working in our favor is you're picky. You're picky. You'll have no trade days.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people that can't you can't tell them that there isn't a stock on the scanner that they can't make a little bit of money on.
Hmm.
Now, you've been doing it long enough. I haven't been doing it nearly as long as you, but I've have enough screen time where I can let the ego go and look at the scanner and say, is it worth even taking more than a couple stabs on this stock if I don't think I'll make money on it? So I think that's something that, and with that comes you might have a couple days where it's slow, but I have enough data now. You surely have enough data where
Yeah.
we know that the right stock will pop up more often than not, and when they do, we can capitalize on them. So
Yep.
that's something we both have in common. Although we don't trade the same stocks, I think I think I learned my pickiness from you, and I think I lose gracefully because of you. When I don't trade like you. I don't trade the same stocks as you, but I did used to watch your streams every single day.
Hmm.
You'd have red days. You might be
Hmm.
red 3, 4, or 5 grand, and your acceptance of the loss and your calmness and the way you would just go about, well, it is what it is. I'll be back tomorrow, and then that's the stream, and it's like, wow. I mean, to see that day in and day out, or when
Yeah.
you have red days, it
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
helped me a lot because if Ross Cameron can't make it work on every stock, and he can just let his ego go and accept that, today just isn't my day. I
Yeah.
know that I'll have something come up probably this week that I can nail.
Right.
Why would I do anything different than that from a psychological standpoint? I know
Yeah.
I can I'm not going to have a 5K day every day. I can't do it. My style of trading, I just can't do it because
Yeah.
those stocks don't pop up every single day. But I know
Hey,
I'll
I
get
don't.
one of them every week probably, and that's enough for me. I don't need. I'm
Yeah,
not greedy.
absolutely.
I just
Well, that's it, and that's it. I mean, when you're no longer satisfied with, I mean, look, on the one hand, this is a little contradictory, because when you're not satisfied, then you'll sometimes take risks and make bad decisions because you're not happy with what you've got. Now, on the other hand, we were just talking about how being dissatisfied can also be a motivator, but it can be a healthy motivator to help you want to achieve better and to be a better person and to do
Yeah.
better. For me, something that I've started telling myself when I'm having a bad day is I remind myself, Ross, all the profit to recover today's loss is in the market. You just have
Yeah.
to pick it up. But the rule is you can only pick it up by trading stocks that you know are, for you, A quality. And right now, today, there's nothing here. So does it really matter to make back that loss today? Today, what if you just said these 5 days are all one day? You know, what if this whole month was just one day? It's a day. What does it really matter? Because that's where our head says, oh, I'm red today. I'm a loser. I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing. And all those feelings are now pushing you to take trades because if you're green, suddenly I feel like a winner. I know what I'm doing. I'm good at my job. And so it's like now you're trading just to chase an emotion and you're trading just the number. And the market doesn't care about your emotions. The market doesn't care if you're red or green. Some days there'll be great opportunities for your setup and some days there aren't. And when it's hot, you got to be aggressive. And when it's cold, you got to take your foot off the gas and just remind yourself, all right now I'm going to batten down the hatches. And I sometimes I'll watch these reality TV shows just like to numb myself at the end of the night. I don't drink, and I just kind of that those shows can kind of relax me a little bit. And when I watch some of them, like a show like The Deadliest Catch, or one of these gold digging shows, sometimes you'll see them make a stupid mistake. They'll break a piece of equipment, and it's like a $15,000 piece of equipment, and it's like it's totally their own fault. And what does it mean? Now the operations shut down, they're going to lose money, this and that. And sometimes it's a little bit, it makes me feel better to see these business owners take those losses. And because it's like for us, when we take a $10,000 loss or maybe $100 loss or whatever the case is, trading, it can feel very personal, like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. But every business owner has their equivalent of this. And you're going to have some losses and you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to have some equipment that breaks. It's a cost of doing business. And the only thing you can do is get back on the horse. And if you let yourself get crazy bent out of shape because of it, it's so unnecessary. And so I often tell myself, look, if you're not even going to remember the stocks you traded that resulted in this loss a week from now, then don't spend another minute thinking about it. It's going to be water under the bridge. So why worry about something when, a week from now you won't even remember it? So
And
it's a total waste of energy.
yeah, and if you're thinking about it going into your next sum of trades, it's going to directly impact how you manage that trade. So
It does.
you can't do it. You got to learn how to you got to learn how to avoid it. And if it's warrior member or somebody watching this, if there's just any advice that I could
Yeah.
give, that I could
Yep.
help with them in any way, it's just you have to be a good loser. If you can't become a well, what do I mean? A good loser is in like you have to master, being a winner. You have to be able to have your winning trades. You have to have your profitable edge. But if you can't lose gracefully, if you can't become a good loser, your learning curve is just going to be so much longer than
You're right.
if you can just leave your ego at the door, lose gracefully, become a good loser. No one wants to be a loser. No one wants to have a red day, but there's an art in being a good loser. There's an art in being okay with losing, not letting it affect you. If I have a red day, the next day I'm not worried about it. I've had enough red days by now
Yeah.
where it doesn't affect me. I'm not thinking about it the next day at all. I'm thinking about what stocks are on the scanner and trying to figure out what stock I can make the most money on. That's all I'm thinking about. You know, I used to I used to get so annoyed if I took a silly loss or something like that, but it is what it is. It's a psychological thing that you
Hmm.
have to get over. I mean,
Will you build that emotional conditioning to
yeah.
it? The losses. I mean, for me, when I first got started, $100 loss was painful, and then I just kept scaling up my share size and getting bigger. And I've taken 6-figure losses before, and it's not
Mm,
fun. But I wouldn't have had 6-figure days if I wasn't taking that type of risk. So you can't get the winners without the losers. If
yeah.
you want to have that success, you got to step up to the plate and you got to be able to handle the loss. So it's like I feel like, look, if you're red today, but over the course of the last 7 days, last 30 days, you're green, then net, at the end of the day, you're green, you're a winner. You're doing the right thing. Now, the only way for a beginner to really know if they're doing the right thing is, of course, to build that track record in the sim or with really small size,
Yeah.
and slowly scale up. That way, when you start having those red days, you can immediately look back at your metrics and be like, yeah, no, I do know what I'm doing. This is just one bad day. And that's what's so important, because that initial set of data from your first, 30 days of, having success, that is your source of confidence.
Hmm.
That's so key.
Yeah. And sizing, you talk about like using small size. Sizing's a funny thing, right? When you did your interview with Marcelo,
Yeah.
I believe he went from tiny size to almost like full size. Like
Yeah.
he had like months of 10 cent, 20 cent, whatever dollar green days, and then boom, he was in with 1,000 shares
Mm,
per. I could never do that. I don't know
yeah.
how he did that.
Yeah.
Just you saying that made me think of it, and I
Sure.
wonder. So like my size progression, and anybody who might be listening to this, size progression is going to be a key thing in your journey. How
Hmm.
you size up. You're going to have your edge. You're going to figure out your edge. That's just the first thing. Now you have to figure out how to implement it with sizing. So
Yep.
like I could never do what Marcelo did. What I did a very gradual like sizing up. I couldn't afford a big loss, so it wasn't like, oh, I think I got it. Let me start marketing in 10K shares into these positions and see what happens.
Right.
Did you size gradually? Because I know you also were like
Mm,
you were down to your last 25K or whatever it was.
yeah.
I'm wondering, you had big swings, so what
Yeah.
was
No,
your
I'm an
sizing
idiot.
progression
See,
like? Because it was a
no,
little different than mine, I think.
I had no idea what I was doing. I just started trading basically immediately with like big positions, 5,000 shares, 8,000 shares. Maybe it would be a penny stock or it'd be a more expensive stock. I mean, I was just using like basically as much money as I had in my account. My thinking was, I would take these positions and I wasn't holding them for very long. So even if I was a $20,000 position, I'd get in. My goal was to make $100, $200 and get out. But again, part of that was because I was trading at a time where you paid for every commission. So if right for every trade. So whether it was 100 shares or it was 10,000, it was the same amount. It's $10.
That's
So I was
interesting.
like, I can take 3 trades with huge size and I'll only pay like $60 in commissions on that day. So like that. So to be honest, part of it was because of the system that I was learning in and the sort of the environment. But I was taking big size, and sometimes I would take 10, 15,000 shares and I'd get 30 cents. I'd be up 4,500 bucks, and it'd be like, whoa, that's my monthly goal in one trade. Awesome. But then, I would have 3 trades like that where I lost and my account would be gone or, almost gone. 50% of it would be gone and I'd have to add more money. So like I did it the completely wrong way, but there's no reason to do that for anyone that's watching this certainly interview, because you can learn from my mistakes. And also in today's environment with commission-free trading, there's no like reason not to just go with small size. I mean,
Yeah.
what I always tell people is to trade in the sim with 100 shares, and just to stay with 100 shares for, until you prove your metrics are good, and then do that with real money with 100 shares, and then start going up from 100 to 150 to 200 to 300 to 400, and just increase like 100 shares a week. And yeah, it'll take you 10 weeks to get up to towards 1,000 shares, and that's fine. You progress slowly, but 10 weeks from now, when you're trading with 1,000 shares and you're making 200 a day or whatever it is, you're going to be pretty grateful.
And you're trading with 1,000 shares, and you have 10 more weeks of data to get
Exactly.
in more confidently with those 1,000 shares. So yeah, makes
Yeah.
complete sense. That's kind of what I did. My
Good.
progression was very slow. Once I added cushion, and um, I knew that if I took a big loss, I could, take money back out of the E-Trade, put it in my Schwab account.
Yep.
It was all like the equity curve started just going up a lot
That's
quicker.
awesome.
But yeah, I sized my progress. It's something I still like. My strategy is what it is. I'm not going to change my strategy too much. The only thing I can do to take what I'm making on a month to month basis now and try to multiply that even further,
Yeah.
it's just figuring out how to better scale into my positions
Hmm.
and scale out of my positions. So that
Well,
that's
I,
just
I
something I'm figuring out right now. But
I would say there's a couple things you could also consider. I know with Thinkorswim, you can set up 2 accounts. So you could set up a Roth IRA in your main account. And if you're using Dash Trader, you can link the 2 accounts together. So
mhm,
every time you press the buy button, you're buying in 2 accounts instead of one. So
Yeah,
now, I
that's
mean,
interesting.
you're multiplying your profits. Now, you don't want to go that means doubling your share size effectively on every trade. So you don't want to go from 16,000 to now 32,000 shares, but you can start to experiment with that. And a lot of people will do that. They'll set up like 2 or 3 accounts, a retirement account, a margin account, cash account, whatever the case is. And then you start to amplify a little bit. So, to scale up your trading, your profits, increasing your share size as much as you can, increasing scaling in, occasionally holding a little longer, adding several accounts. I mean, those are kind of like the low-hanging fruit of what you could do probably in the, near term, just to amplify things a little bit. And I mean, I think the retirement account is a no-brainer anyways.
Yeah, I use DAS. I always used to send my orders through DAS. Since the Schwab merger, I've seen some horror stories about people getting stuck in positions with DAS. So
Mm,
since the merger, um, I haven't used DAS. I still pay for it and use it because I like the tape. The
yeah,
tape for DAS is so much better than the tape from Thinkorswim, and
yeah,
I like seeing where halt levels are. Whereas Thinkorswim, they don't offer halt levels.
I know.
I need to we majority of us need to know where halt levels are.
I
Otherwise,
agree.
how are you gonna you don't know the extent of the dip. You don't know. I don't want to buy when something I don't like buying into halts because
You're
I've
stuck.
I've tried it. You get stuck. It can resume lower. As strong as the halt might look, it could resume lower. Maybe that's something I could work on in the future and do a little differently. Danny's great with halts.
Yeah, he is.
He trades halts so well. I don't think I'll ever trade halts as well as him, but he trades differently than me. So, um, yeah,
Mm,
but with a Roth IRA,
hmm.
does it take 3 years or however long to get it to a point where you can? Because I'm an
Yeah,
active trader, but I
totally.
know I can only make the max contribution annually to a
Right.
Roth.
Yeah.
I assume there's no way around that. I would have to just do it over the course of the next couple years, and then once I'm close enough, maybe get the account over
So
PDT.
you can do it's kind of nice actually because right now you can still do a contribution for this year and a contribution for last year. And then as of I think January 1st, you could do a contribution for the next year. So you can actually do like 3 years of contributions fairly close together. I mean, when you fund your account, if you use Thinkorswim, they'll tell you like you could do this year's still available, this year's available, and then, this year's will be coming soon. So you can do it fairly quickly. So I did 3 contributions of 6,000. That gave me 18,000. And then I day traded it like 3 times a week for, a couple weeks, got it to 25K, and then I was smooth sailing. But, if you wanted to get to the full 25K before you start day trading in it, then, 4 years of contributions, which would probably take you like, 2 years to sort of squeeze that in. Well,
And
about maybe a year and a half.
is that just something where you get your account to 18K and you're just kind of biting the bullet in terms of you only have 3-day trades per week. You want to grow the account, so you want to take a really good setup. Now,
Yeah.
in doing so, you're not on your margin account where you could take
Mhm.
really great size. So, is that something where you're just kind of you're waiting for maybe the right stock or the right setup, and you're like, okay, I think I can grow my Roth, and you're just like, I'll have to bite the bullet and not take the size
Yeah.
and make the money that I could make in my other account.
You're absolutely right. And I've tried trading in 2 accounts at the same time, not using the API, but just manually pressing the buy button twice, and it's
Mhm.
very hard. It's
Yeah,
like impossible.
yeah,
So I so what worked better for me actually was having it be a cash account and taking as many trades as I could till I ran out of cash
yeah. That
and then
makes
just
sense.
take trading it the next day. So if you're already doing like 100 trades a day, then it's like, okay, 3 of them each day are going to be in that account, and maybe it's your first 3 trades. That's usually what I did. It would be my first couple trades I would do in that account, and then I wouldn't touch it until the next day. And I usually find that my first trades are better anyways, because I usually like to kind of get my cushion on the day. So I usually try to break the ice with my first trade being one I feel pretty good about.
And you have a Schwab account.
Yeah, yeah.
So are you ever tempted to open up and on a stock like FOXO, are you ever tempted to, trade it via
So
Schwab, or do you just want to stick to
well, I don't have that much money in my Schwab account. It's only a little over the PDT rule. So, I did the small account challenge, so it's like 27,000. And the thing for me is that my challenge to turn $583 into 100K and then a million and then 10 million is all part of one account. So all the money from that challenge ties back to the original contribution of $583. And I have those returns, each year audited. So if I add a new account to it, it sort of adds complexity because now it's another account that I have to get audited.
Hmm.
And the firm that I use charges $2,000 per statement for each audit. So 1 year of audits is 24 grand right now for one account. So if I added a second account like Thinkorswim to the challenge, then it's going to cost me more money. It's kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And I feel like, is it really worth it? And honestly, I don't feel like it is, because I feel like for you, it was a good starting point with the lower price stocks, but for me, it feels like a little bit of like a step backwards,
Yeah.
because I don't feel like I can make as much as I
Yeah.
can make on higher price stocks unless I want to start buying like 2 or 300,000 shares, which I know some people do, but I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to do that.
I
So
see
like, I don't know.
I see big players on pennies. I do. I see big.
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter. You see
Hmm.
a lot of these guys. Some of them are third party verified, so I tend
Sure.
to only follow people that uh, I know are legit. Otherwise, you just don't know what kind of information you're getting from
Yeah.
somebody.
No, that's smart.
So I see big players playing pennies, but I get what you mean. But I mean, man, a hot penny that goes from 20 cents to $1.
I know.
If you can get a good read on it and somebody
Yeah.
taking size like you can make a ton of money. So, but
You're not wrong.
when the FOXOs of the world come around and it gets up to $1.20 and you feel comfortable trading it, I'm happy to see that too. You,
Yeah.
me and like Justin and
Yeah.
the we like our cheap stocks.
Yeah.
We'll let you take over once it gets up to 120 and we'll help get it there.
Yeah. Well, it's like and I know I totally hear you. I mean, it's just one of these things where it takes a little bit of a different read and a different strategy, especially for me being so dialed in with the price action of the way, $2 to $10 stocks trade and move.
It's different
I
level too.
the hundredth of a penny, whenever I kind of try, I'm just like, man, I just feel like I don't have. But it's like you said, I would have to kind of set aside time to be like, I'm going to try to add this to my tool belt and really figure it out. And, and I guess for me, I haven't, I don't know, I guess I haven't quite thought that there's enough profit there for me to make it worthwhile. But you're not wrong that there's some people that do throw big money at them. And, if you get 50 cents a share on 300,000 shares, it's $150,000. So,
Yeah. A
but a
lot of
lot of them seem to get that. Like they'll get a position and they hold it, and that's like also very different from the way that I trade. I don't just
Yeah.
buy and hold and let it work for 3 days. I'm getting in and out, and but anyways, so give me what would you say kind of if you were gonna give like one tidbit to yourself, like from when you were first getting started, if you could time travel, what's the one thing you would say? Like, what's that one thing you would whisper in your ear and say, you should do this?
It's a great question. Um, we sort of touched on it earlier, so I'll briefly bring it up and then give you a different perspective. But if I could go back in time, I would
Hmm.
emphasize to myself the importance that an A plus quality stock is
Mm.
so much more important than an A plus setup on any given stock. You might
Yeah.
have somebody going stock to stock on the scanner looking for flags or looking for some certain setup. And I used to do that. You
Me
you
too.
love a bull flag, right?
Yeah.
And I watched all your videos. I used to go stock to stock. Where's the bull flag? Where's the bull flag forming? Where's the high
Yeah.
volume bull flags forming? But if I could go back in time with the knowledge I have now, I would tell myself the a A plus quality stock, sit there and trade that over looking for an A plus quality setup because
Yeah.
you might think you have an A plus quality setup, but if it's not on the right stock, you might get a false break and get flushed on. You
Agreed.
might get chopped around. there's a million different factors. So
You're
from
right though.
a
No, I agree.
yeah,
I agree with you 100%. And it's something that I've actually said. I haven't said it maybe in a while, but um, sometimes people get so focused on the pattern. They're
yeah,
just looking for the pattern. And they're like, I want to find a bull flag. And I remember actually creating a scanner that was searching for bull flags. So it was like I had to have 3 green candles and then 2 red candles. And like this, I kind of had the anatomy of a bull flag in like the form of data. This is what it looks like. I told the scanner to go look for it. It started giving me back these great looking bull flags. I started
hmm
buying them and I started losing money. And I was like, what is going on here? And the problem was they weren't the right stocks to trade. You know,
yeah.
the floats were too high, the price was too high. They didn't have news, they didn't have relative volume, they had no volume, and they didn't work. So it comes back down to you have to trade the right stocks. By the way, for those of you guys watching this, I'll put a link down below for my 5 pillars of stock selection. It's the PDF that you guys can download for those of you guys who haven't already downloaded it. So I'll put that there for you to check out. But all right, then what was the second thing you were going to whisper?
Just from a psychological perspective, if I could go back in time, I
Yeah,
would just tell myself, obviously I have the hindsight of everything worked out for me, but
yeah,
I wish I just enjoyed the process a little bit more. When
mm,
when I was trying to figure out this whole thing, I was working a job I didn't like because I wanted to have something while I was still in the sim and using small size where I could work around market open hours. So I worked at a gym and I
mm,
would get there at 4 a.m. I'd leave at 9 a.m. That'd be one of my shifts. And then sometimes I'd have to go back in later. And I did it because um I told the manager, I was like, I trade stocks and I cannot work between 9 and noon.
yeah,
You schedule me anywhere but that.
yep,
And so, you know, I I was miserable there. And then there was just the anxiety of, you know, you're trying to figure it out. You I kind of put all my chips in one basket. So naturally there was a lot of anxiety. But if I could go back in time, I wish I would enjoy it more because now I'm at a point where
mm,
I'm so grateful. Um, I'm so happy. I look forward to Monday every single
I
time
love that.
Friday hits. It's like
Yeah,
no genuine. It sounds like such a guru thing where it's like, you know, you if you just figure out how to love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. And it's so cliche, but like I'd be lying if I didn't say the bell hits on Friday. My girlfriend wants to go to Marshall's. She's excited. We could do all these things on the weekend, and I'm like, man, I cannot wait for market open on Monday. It's just I am so grateful that I have been able to set myself up in a position like this where I can look for because, like I said, I
mm,
was in a major going to be a teacher. I
yep,
didn't love it though, and
yeah,
I had that overhanging anxiety of this might be my life for the next 30 years. I might not love it, but I'll try
yeah,
not to hate it. So going from that to this, it's like it's incredible. It really is. This whole journey's been so incredible. I wish earlier on in my equity curve when I was making just a little bit of money here and there. I wish I enjoyed it more. It was hard to take the anxiety out of it because
mm,
you're trying to do something so difficult. You're trying to essentially create a business, albeit a bit different than a business that sells product, but you're creating a business. It's super stressful. Um, you don't have a lot of support because people don't understand it. Um, and if you tell them about it, they might think you're silly or tell you it's risky. So there's not a lot of support.
yeah,
I just wish I could go back in time and tell myself to just enjoy the process more because I I, I love this shit. Like I really
yeah,
do.
yeah,
From the bottom of my heart, I love it so much. And um, if things changed and my broker came in and said, you know what, I don't like how much money you're making. We're capping you at 40K a year.
right,
I'd be pissed. I'd be upset. I'd fight back. But I know at the end of the day, I'd still come here every day and do it because I just love it so much. There's nothing else I want to do. And, having this perspective now, I just wish, earlier on in the equity curve and in the career, I guess, that I could have enjoyed it more because,
mm,
it's just a process. You have to enjoy the process. It's like you'll look back and you'll be like, man, why I was so anxious and so miserable at the
mm-hmm.
desk at the gym
Me
trying to
too. Oh
figure it
yeah,
all out. You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'd be anxious at work. It sucked, but hindsight, everything worked out. I wish I could go back in time and just enjoy the process a little bit more because it's been
Well,
such an incredible process. And I don't feel like
yeah.
I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I should have. So if there's somebody watching this from Warrior Trading or wherever, and you're in the beginning of your equity curve or you haven't quite figured it out yet, if this is really what you want to do, just enjoy it because accept that you're going to lose some of the times. You're going to get pissed off and you're going to take losses, but this is what you want to be doing. You have to do that stuff to get to where you want to go. And if you can accept that, you can enjoy the journey a little bit more. And once you get to where you want to go, you can look back and you be glad you had gratitude all throughout. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I mean, I think that I think that's good advice. I think for me, and maybe for you too, it was hard to feel that because of that anxiety, because there was that concern of, will I be one of the people that figures this out,
Yeah.
or will I be one of the ones that don't? And this is kind of where I kind of come back to the fact that when I look at success and failure in trading, we know that a lot of people don't find success, and when I look at them and I ask myself what went wrong for them, it usually comes down to either, number one, they didn't really have a strategy in the first place that made
Yeah.
sense. They didn't know how to choose the right stocks. They were just kind of gambling. And then the second is, okay, maybe they had the strategy, but they weren't disciplined. And so
Yeah.
there's certain aptitudes that you do need to bring to the table. And the good news is, even if you maybe don't have every single one of those aptitudes or every single one of those skills, a lot of them can be learned if you're willing to. But you've got to work hard for it. But something as good as and awesome as being successful in trading, it doesn't come easily. You've got to work for it. And
Yeah.
but if you enjoy what you're doing and you find it fun and interesting, then it really doesn't feel like work. You spend your
Yeah.
weekends doing it. And for me, I carve out at least 2 hours a day, Saturday and Sunday, to spend right here doing trading related stuff, whether it's working on a video for you guys, for people on YouTube, or it's going over my trades or my metrics, because the weekends are long. And I look forward to being here in my computer area and doing this trading stuff. And so I try to carve out a little bit of time each day where I can have that, even on the weekend, just to keep studying and to keep involved. And it's good to have breaks, I suppose, but I don't take breaks. So
Sometimes when it's a week of when it's the the day after the election that week, I had my second best week ever. And
yeah.
it's like by the end of the when I have weeks like that, I'm trading a lot of the time, market open to market close. If there's a hot
Mm,
ticker that I just like for throughout the day, or maybe there's
it's a
a
long
couple
day.
that popped up. And I tell my girlfriend on Friday, I'm like, oh man, I have a headache, my eyes are strained, but that lasts for like 30 minutes. And then I'm like, man, I had such an amazing week. I love doing it so much. I'm ready for Monday. I need a
Yeah.
30-minute break. I could go take a nap or something. I just want to I just want to load up the Warrior Trading scans, chat with my best friend, and do our
Mhm.
thing. That's all I want to do. That's all
That's awesome.
all I want to do. I love it so much, and I have to show you some gratitude because if it weren't for
Thank
you,
you.
your blog and making YouTube videos, if I didn't stumble upon your YouTube channel one day in college, then who knows where I'd be today, But I did, and here I am talking to you. So it's pretty neat. This is incredible. This is something I'll show my kids one day.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, let's end this there. That's a great. I love that, and
Yeah.
thank you. You've done a great job. You should be
Thanks
proud of
so much.
yourself. I'm
I
really
appreciate
impressed.
it.
If you've enjoyed this interview with Josh and you want to learn more about how to start day trading, I'll put some links in the description and I'll pin them to the top of the comments for your next steps to getting started. Thanks as always for tuning in. I'll remind you, as always, trading is risky. Our results are not typical, so please manage your risk and always practice in a simulator before you put real money on the line. I'll see you for the next episode real soon.